Jesus, the ultimate high priest. Imagine standing outside the temple on the Day of Atonement, the holiest day of the year. You watch as the high priest enters the most holy place, carrying the blood of a sacrifice to atone for the sins of the people. His every step is filled with fear and reverence, for one mistake could cost him his life. Now consider this. How could Jesus, a carpenter from Nazareth, fulfill the role of the ultimate high priest unless he was truly God? The role of the high priest. In the Old Testament, the high priest held a unique and sacred responsibility. Once a year, on the Day of Atonement, Yom Kippur, he entered the most holy place within the temple. This was the inner sanctuary, where the Ark of the Covenant rested and where God's presence dwelled. Before entering, the high priest had to follow strict preparations. He washed himself thoroughly, dressed in special garments, and offered sacrifices for his own sins and the sins of the people. Leviticus 16:32-34. With trembling hands, he carried the blood of a spotless animal into the most holy place and sprinkled it on the mercy seat of the ark, symbolizing atonement for the people's sins. This act of atonement had to be repeated every year. The blood of animals could never fully take away sins, it only covered them temporarily. The high priest's role was crucial but incomplete, pointing forward to a greater, eternal solution. Jesus, the ultimate high priest. The book of Hebrews reveals that Jesus Christ fulfills and surpasses the role of the high priest. Hebrews 4:14 declares, "Therefore, since we have a great high priest who has ascended into heaven, Jesus the Son of God, let us hold firmly to the faith we profess." But how could Jesus, who was not from the priestly line of Aaron, take on this sacred role? The answer lies in his divine identity and his perfect life. Unlike the earthly high priests who had to atone for their own sins, Jesus was sinless, Hebrews 7:26. This made him uniquely qualified to offer a perfect sacrifice. On the cross, Jesus acted as both the high priest and the sacrificial lamb. He didn't enter an earthly temple, but the very presence of God in heaven. Hebrews 9:12 explains, "He did not enter by means of the blood of goats and calves, but he entered the most holy place once for all by his own blood, thus obtaining eternal redemption." Why it matters. The earthly high priest's work was temporary and repetitive, but Jesus' sacrifice was eternal and complete. When he cried out, "It is finished," on the cross, the curtain of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom. Matthew 27:51. This act symbolized the end of the separation between God and humanity. Through Jesus, we have direct access to God, something the Old Covenant could never provide. If Jesus wasn't God, how could he fulfill the role of the ultimate high priest? How could he offer himself as the perfect sacrifice and enter God's presence on our behalf? Challenge to skeptics. Think about the details. The earthly high priests had to follow elaborate rituals, yet their work was never complete. Jesus, however, accomplished in one sacrifice what countless sacrifices could never do. Could any mere human achieve this? If Jesus was just a man, how could he be sinless? How could he mediate between God and humanity? These questions point to one undeniable conclusion. Jesus is who he claimed to be, God in the flesh, our eternal high priest. Take away Jesus' role as the ultimate high priest changes everything. You no longer need a mediator to approach God, because Jesus himself is your mediator. He understands your struggles, your weaknesses, and your fears, because he walked this earth and faced every temptation without sin. So, what's holding you back? Will you accept the gift of eternal redemption that Jesus, the ultimate high priest, offers you? Call to action. If this story inspired you, share it with someone who needs to know about the love and sacrifice of Jesus. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more Bible stories that reveal the truth of God's Word. Let these words resonate in your heart. Therefore, he is able to save completely those who come to God through him, because he always lives to intercede for them. Hebrews 7:25.